Surrounded by the cold waters of the North Atlantic, Iceland is a land shaped by fire and ice. Volcanoes, glaciers, and powerful oceans exist side by side, creating one of the most dramatic landscapes on Earth. From steaming geysers to frozen ice caps, Iceland's natural features tell the story of a country constantly formed and reshaped by nature. Iceland sits on the mid-Atlantic ridge, where two tectonic plates slowly pull apart, causing frequent volcanic activity. This geological position has given the country black sand beaches, lava fields, hot springs, and active volcanoes. At the same time, massive glaciers cover large parts of the land, carving valleys and feeding rivers that run through the countryside. These extremes make Iceland both beautiful and unpredictable. The history of Iceland begins with Norse settlers who arrived over 1,000 years ago, drawn by the promise of land and independence. Isolated from the rest of Europe, early Icelanders learned to survive harsh conditions through cooperation, farming, and fishing. Over centuries, they developed a strong sense of identity rooted in storytelling, poetry, and law, preserving their history through sagas that are still read today. Modern life in Iceland blends tradition with innovation. Most of the population lives in coastal towns, with Reykjavik as the cultural and economic center. Fishing remains an important industry, while renewable energy from geothermal heat and hydropower supplies most of the country's electricity. Despite its small population, Iceland has a strong education system and a high standard of living. Icelandic culture is deeply connected to nature. Folklore speaks of elves and hidden people believed to live in rocks and hills, reflecting respect for the land. Music, literature, and art thrive, often inspired by the country's landscapes and long winters. Seasonal festivals and national celebrations bring people together, strengthening community ties. Living in Iceland also comes with challenges. Harsh weather, long dark winters, and natural hazards such as volcanic eruptions can disrupt daily life. Climate change threatens glaciers and ecosystems, raising concerns for the future. As tourism grows, Iceland faces the challenge of protecting its environment while sharing its unique beauty with the world. Despite these challenges, Iceland remains a symbol of resilience and adaptation. By respecting nature, investing in sustainability, and preserving cultural traditions, the country continues to move forward. Iceland may appear small on the map, but its history, landscapes, and spirit leave a powerful impression on all who experience it. Life in Iceland is strongly shaped by geography, climate, and a small, closely connected population. With just over 300,000 people living across a large and often rugged landscape, Icelanders tend to experience daily life in a way that emphasizes independence, cooperation, and adaptability. Most people live in coastal towns, especially around the capital region of Reykjavik, where access to jobs, education, and services is easiest. Outside these areas, communities are smaller and more remote, which encourages strong social bonds and self-reliance. Whether in urban or rural settings, Icelandic lifestyle is deeply influenced by nature and the need to live in balance with it. The work culture in Iceland reflects the country's values of equality, trust, and balance. Workplaces tend to have flat hierarchies, meaning there is less distance between managers and employees than in many other countries. People usually address each other by first names, regardless of position or status, which contributes to a sense of mutual respect. A healthy work-life balance is highly valued, and long working hours are generally discouraged. Parents are encouraged to spend time with their children, supported by generous parental leave policies for both mothers and fathers. This approach helps create a lifestyle where family life is not overshadowed by work demands. Education plays a central role in Icelandic society and lifestyle. Schooling is free and compulsory for children, and the education system emphasizes creativity, critical thinking, and independence rather than strict competition. Students are encouraged to express opinions, ask questions, and develop their individual interests. Literacy has long been important in Iceland, dating back to the medieval sagas that preserve the nation's history. Today, reading remains a common pastime, and libraries are widely used. Many Icelanders grow up speaking Icelandic fluently, while also learning English and often another foreign language, reflecting the country's global connections despite its isolation. Nature is not something separate from daily life in Iceland, but an essential part of it. Many people regularly engage in outdoor activities such as hiking, camping, fishing, and horseback riding. Even short trips into nature are common, as dramatic landscapes are often only minutes away from towns. Icelanders tend to have a strong awareness of weather conditions and seasonal changes, adjusting plans and routines accordingly. This close relationship with nature fosters resilience and respect for the environment, which is reflected in national attitudes toward conservation and sustainability. One of the most distinctive aspects of Icelandic lifestyle is the widespread use of geothermal energy. Hot water naturally heated by the earth is used to warm homes, power greenhouses, and fill public swimming pools. As a result, heating costs are relatively low, and renewable energy is a normal part of everyday life rather than a special initiative. Public swimming pools are especially important social spaces. People of all ages visit them year-round, using hot tubs and saunas not only for relaxation, but also for conversation. These pools serve as informal meeting places where community connections are strengthened. Food habits in Iceland have evolved from traditional survival-based diets to modern cuisine influenced by global trends. Historically, Icelanders relied heavily on fish, lamb, dairy products, and preserved foods due to limited agricultural options and harsh winters. Today, fish remains a staple, often eaten fresh and prepared simply. Lamb is also common, raised in open pastures during the summer months. Modern Icelandic lifestyle includes international foods as well, especially in urban areas. But there is still strong appreciation for local ingredients and seasonal eating. Meals are often shared at home, reinforcing the importance of family and togetherness. Social life in Iceland tends to be informal and community-oriented. Because the population is small, people often know one another either directly or through shared connections. This creates a high level of social trust, which is reflected in everyday behavior. For example, it is common to see parents leave babies sleeping in strollers outside cafes, a practice that reflects confidence in public safety. Children are given a high degree of independence from a young age, encouraged to explore, make decisions, and take responsibility for themselves within a supportive environment. Equality is a defining feature of Icelandic lifestyle. The country is widely recognized for its strong commitment to gender equality, and this value is deeply embedded in daily life. Women and men participate equally in education, work, and politics, and gender roles are generally flexible. Household responsibilities are often shared, and it is common for fathers to take an active role in childcare. Iceland's natural environment is one of the most unique and dramatic in the world, shaped by the constant interaction between volcanic activity, glaciers, oceans, and extreme weather. Located just below the Arctic Circle, the country sits on the boundary of two tectonic plates, causing frequent geological change. Volcanoes, lava fields, geysers, hot springs, glaciers, rivers, mountains, and coastlines all exist within a relatively small area. This powerful landscape defines not only the appearance of Iceland, but also the animals and ecosystems that survive there, many of which have adapted to harsh and unpredictable conditions. Volcanic activity plays a central role in shaping Iceland's land. Lava flows from past eruptions have created vast fields of hardened rock, some covered in thick moss that takes decades to grow. These moss-covered lava fields are fragile ecosystems, easily damaged by human activity. Volcanoes such as Hekla and Katla have influenced soil fertility, allowing vegetation to grow in areas once covered by ash. At the same time, eruptions can destroy habitats, forcing plants and animals to adapt or relocate. This cycle of destruction and renewal is a defining feature of Iceland's natural world. Glaciers are another dominant feature of Iceland's environment. Large ice caps cover significant portions of the country, slowly carving valleys and shaping the land beneath them. Glaciers feed rivers and waterfalls that flow through the countryside, providing fresh water and supporting surrounding ecosystems. However, climate change is causing glaciers to melt at an increasing rate, threatening long-term water systems and altering habitats. As glaciers retreat, new land is exposed, changing the balance of plant and animal life and creating both challenges and opportunities for nature to adapt. Despite its harsh climate, Iceland supports a surprising variety of plant life. Vegetation is generally low-growing due to strong winds, cold temperatures, and short growing seasons. Mosses, grasses, and hardy shrubs dominate much of the landscape, especially in open areas. Birch forests once covered large parts of Iceland, but centuries of deforestation reduced them significantly. Today, conservation efforts aim to restore native plant life and prevent soil erosion, which remains a serious environmental issue due to volcanic soil and past overgrazing. Animal life in Iceland is closely tied to the surrounding ocean, which provides food and shelter for many species. Marine life is one of Iceland's greatest natural strengths, with rich fishing grounds created by the mixing of cold and warm ocean currents. Fish such as cod, haddock, and herring thrive in these waters, supporting both ecosystems and human livelihoods. Seals are commonly found along the coast, resting on rocks and beaches, while whales migrate through Icelandic waters during the summer months. Species such as humpback whales, minke whales, and orcas attract global attention and play an important role in marine biodiversity. Bird life is one of the most visible and significant aspects of Iceland's natural environment. The country is home to millions of seabirds that nest along cliffs and coastal areas. Puffins are among the most famous, known for their colorful beaks and strong flying ability. Other bird species include Arctic terns, which migrate farther than any other bird in the world, as well as eiders, guillemots, and gannets. These birds rely on Iceland's cliffs and clean waters for breeding and survival, making conservation of coastal habitats essential. Land mammals in Iceland are relatively limited due to the country's isolation. The Arctic fox is the only native land mammal having arrived during the last ice age when Iceland was connected to the mainland by ice. Arctic foxes are well adapted to the environment, with thick fur that changes color depending on the season. Other mammals, such as reindeer, sheep, horses, and cattle, were introduced by humans and have since become part of the landscape. Icelandic sheep roam freely across large areas during the summer, shaping vegetation and contributing to the rural ecosystem. The Icelandic horse is one of the most iconic animals associated with the country. Small but strong, this breed has adapted to rough terrain and cold weather over centuries. Icelandic horses are known for their unique gait and calm temperament. Strict regulations prevent other horses from being imported to Iceland, protecting the purity and health of the breed. Horses play an important role, not only in farming and tourism, but also in cultural identity, symbolizing the deep connection between people and nature. Freshwater ecosystems in Iceland are supported by glacial rivers, lakes, and springs. These waters are generally clean and cold, providing habitats for fish such as salmon and trout. Iceland's landscape is defined by dramatic places and powerful mountain formations that reflect the country's unique geological position and natural history. Situated on the mid-Atlantic ridge, Iceland is constantly shaped by volcanic activity, tectonic movement, glaciers, and erosion. This has created a land of sharp contrasts where mountains rise from flat plains, lava fields stretch for miles, and deep valleys cut through the terrain. The places found across Iceland are not only visually striking, but also deeply connected to the nation's identity, history, and relationship with nature. Mountains dominate much of Iceland's interior and coastline, forming a rugged backbone that shapes travel, settlement, and daily life. Many of Iceland's mountains are volcanic in origin, built from layers of lava and ash over thousands of years. Unlike the sharply pointed peaks found in some other regions, Icelandic mountains often have broad shapes, flat tops, or ridges shaped by glacial erosion. These mountains are constantly affected by weather, with snow, wind, and ice slowly reshaping their surfaces. As a result, the landscape feels alive and ever-changing. Some of Iceland's most well-known mountain regions are found in the Highlands, a vast and largely uninhabited interior area. The Highlands are characterized by black sand deserts, lava fields, glaciers, and colorful mountain ranges. Access to this region is limited due to rough terrain and extreme conditions, which has helped preserve its raw and untouched nature. The Highlands are often seen as one of the purest representations of Iceland's wilderness, attracting hikers and researchers while remaining largely free from permanent human settlement. Glaciers play a major role in shaping Iceland's mountains and surrounding places. Large ice caps cover mountain ranges and slowly carve valleys beneath them. Over time, this movement creates deep fjords, steep cliffs, and wide plains. Some of the country's tallest peaks are found beneath or beside glaciers, hidden for much of the year under thick layers of ice and snow. As glaciers melt, they reveal new landforms, altering the appearance of mountains and valleys, and reshaping the landscape in visible ways. Many of Iceland's most famous places are directly connected to its mountains and geological features. National parks and protected areas showcase dramatic scenery where mountains, waterfalls, lava fields, and rivers meet. These places are often culturally significant as well as naturally important. They are locations where early settlers traveled, stories were written, and historical events took place. As a result, Icelandic places are not viewed only as physical locations, but also as carriers of memory and meaning. Volcanic mountains are especially important in Iceland's geography. Volcanoes such as Hekla, Katla, and Eyjafjallajökull are not just mountains, but active forces that shape the land. Eruptions can dramatically alter surrounding areas, creating new lava fields, destroying vegetation, and reshaping nearby valleys. At the same time, volcanic ash enriches the soil, supporting plant growth in the long term. This balance between destruction and renewal is a defining characteristic of Iceland's mountain landscapes. Coastal mountains and fjords form some of Iceland's most visually dramatic places. In regions where mountains meet the sea, steep cliffs rise directly from the ocean, creating narrow fjords and sheltered bays. These areas have historically supported fishing communities, as the mountains offered protection from harsh winds, while the sea provided food. Towns and villages nestled between mountains and water reflect how people adapted to the landscape rather than reshaping it. In eastern and northern Iceland, mountain ranges are often older and more eroded, shaped by long periods of glacial movement. These mountains tend to have smoother slopes and wide valleys, giving the land a softer appearance compared to the volcanic regions in the south. However, their scale and isolation still create a sense of vastness. Roads winding through these areas emphasize how small human presence feels in comparison to the surrounding landscape. Southern Iceland features some of the country's most iconic places, where mountains, glaciers, waterfalls, and plains exist side by side. Large glaciers descend from mountain ranges toward flat lowlands, feeding powerful rivers that cross the countryside. These rivers often change course due to flooding caused by volcanic eruptions beneath glaciers, a phenomenon unique to Iceland. This interaction between mountains, ice, and water makes southern Iceland one of the most geologically active regions in the country. Mountains in Iceland are not only physical features, but also cultural symbols. In folklore and literature, mountains are often associated with hidden people, spirits, and ancient stories. Food in Iceland has been shaped by geography, climate, and centuries of survival in a harsh environment. With long winters, limited farmland, and isolation from other countries, Icelanders historically depended on what the land and sea could reliably provide. This resulted in a food culture centered on fish, lamb, dairy products, and preservation techniques designed to make food last through difficult seasons. Although modern Iceland now imports a wide variety of foods, traditional influences remain strong and continue to shape everyday eating habits. Fishing has always been one of the most important sources of food in Iceland. Surrounded by rich fishing grounds created by the meeting of warm and cold ocean currents, Iceland developed a strong reliance on seafood. Cod, haddock, herring, and other fish became staples of the Icelandic diet, eaten fresh when possible and preserved when necessary. Drying fish in the cold coastal air was one of the most common preservation methods, creating foods that could be stored for long periods. Even today, fish remains a central part of Icelandic meals and is valued for both its nutritional benefits and cultural importance. Lamb is another key element of Icelandic cuisine. Sheep were brought to Iceland by early settlers and adapted well to the landscape. During summer months, sheep roam freely across mountains and open land, feeding on natural vegetation. This gives Icelandic lamb a distinct flavor that is widely appreciated. Lamb is commonly eaten roasted, boiled, or used in stews and soups, especially during colder months. These meals are often associated with comfort, family gatherings, and traditional celebrations, reinforcing the emotional connection between food and culture. Dairy products play a major role in Icelandic food culture. Milk, butter, cheese, and especially skyr are widely consumed. Skyr is a thick yogurt-like dairy product that has been eaten in Iceland for over 1,000 years. High in protein and low in fat, it reflects the Icelandic focus on practical, nourishing food. Dairy farming developed as a reliable way to produce food in a challenging environment, and dairy products continue to be a daily part of many Icelanders' diets. Because of limited growing seasons, early Icelandic food culture relied heavily on preservation methods. Smoking, drying, fermenting, and salting were used to extend the life of food through winter. Some traditional preserved foods develop strong flavors that may seem unusual to outsiders. While not eaten every day, these foods are still prepared and consumed during special occasions and festivals, serving as reminders of Iceland's past and the creativity required to survive in extreme conditions. Modern Icelandic food culture has changed significantly due to globalization, improved transportation, and technological advances. Today, supermarkets offer fruits, vegetables, and international foods that were once rare or unavailable. Restaurants in Reykjavik and other towns serve cuisine from around the world, reflecting Iceland's connection to global culture. Despite this, many Icelanders continue to value locally produced food and traditional dishes, especially those made from fish, lamb, and dairy. Eating habits in Iceland are generally simple and practical. Home cooked meals are common, and food is often prepared in a straightforward way that highlights natural flavors rather than heavy seasoning. Families often eat dinner together, and meals are seen as an important time for connection and conversation. Lunches are usually light, while dinner is the main meal of the day. This routine reflects a lifestyle that values balance and moderation. Bread and baked goods also have a place in Icelandic food culture. Rye bread is especially popular and is often dense and dark due to long baking times. In some cases, bread is baked using geothermal heat buried in warm ground near hot springs. This method reflects the close relationship between Icelandic food traditions and the natural environment. Cakes and pastries are commonly enjoyed with coffee, especially during social visits. Coffee culture is strong in Iceland and plays an important role in social life. Coffee is consumed throughout the day and often shared during gatherings with friends or family. Cafes are popular meeting places, especially in urban areas, and provide warm, comfortable spaces during long winters. Coffee breaks are not only about drinking coffee, but also about conversation and maintaining social connections. Seasonal changes influence food availability and eating habits. In summer, when daylight is abundant, people are more likely to grill, eat fresh foods, and experiment with lighter meals. In winter, diets shift toward warmer, heavier foods such as soups, stews, and baked dishes. Weather and climate play a defining role in everyday life and the natural environment of Iceland. Located in the North Atlantic Ocean just below the Arctic Circle, Iceland experiences conditions that are shaped by both polar and temperate influences. The country's climate is strongly affected by ocean currents, particularly a warm current that helps moderate temperatures despite the northern latitude. As a result, Iceland does not experience the extreme cold often expected at this location, but its weather remains highly changeable and unpredictable. One of the most distinctive features of Icelandic weather is its variability. Conditions can shift rapidly within a single day, moving from sunshine to rain, snow, or strong winds with little warning. This constant change has influenced how people live, travel, and plan daily activities. Icelanders are accustomed to checking weather forecasts frequently and adapting their routines to changing conditions. Flexibility and preparedness are essential parts of life in a country where the weather can dominate plans. Temperatures in Iceland are generally cool throughout the year. Summers are mild rather than hot, with average temperatures remaining comfortable, but rarely reaching extremes. Winters are cold, but often milder than those of other countries at similar latitudes. Coastal areas experience more moderate temperatures due to the influence of the ocean, while inland and highland regions tend to be colder and more exposed. Snowfall varies depending on location and altitude, some areas experiencing heavy snow, while others remain relatively clear. Wind is one of the most powerful elements of Iceland's weather. Strong winds are common year-round and can significantly affect daily life. They shape the landscape through erosion, influence building design, and create challenging conditions for travel. In some cases, windstorms can disrupt transportation and damage infrastructure. Over time, both people and nature have adapted to these conditions, developing resilience and respect for the forces of weather. Precipitation in Iceland occurs in many forms, including rain, snow, sleet, and hail. The amount of precipitation varies across the country, with southern regions generally receiving more rainfall than northern areas. Mountains and glaciers influence precipitation patterns by forcing moist air upward, leading to increased rainfall or snowfall in certain areas. Rivers and waterfalls fed by precipitation and glacial melt are key features of the landscape and depend heavily on weather patterns. Seasonal changes have a strong impact on Iceland's climate and daily experience. Summer is characterized by long daylight hours, with the sun remaining visible for much of the night. This extended light encourages outdoor activity and contributes to a more energetic pace of life. In contrast, winter brings short days and long nights, particularly in northern regions. Limited daylight affects mood, routines, and activity levels, leading people to adjust their lifestyles to match the season. The interaction between weather and geography creates unique climate conditions in different parts of Iceland. Coastal areas often experience milder temperatures and more frequent storms, while inland areas tend to be colder and drier. The highlands are especially harsh, with extreme winds, low temperatures, and heavy snowfall making them largely uninhabitable year-round. These regional differences contribute to Iceland's diverse natural environments. Weather has always influenced Iceland's history and development. Early settlers had to learn how to survive unpredictable conditions with limited resources. Farming, fishing, and travel were all dependent on weather patterns, and storms could threaten both lives and livelihoods. This history has shaped a culture of caution, cooperation, and respect for nature that continues today. Climate change is increasingly affecting Iceland's weather patterns. Rising temperatures are contributing to the melting of glaciers, altering water systems, and increasing the risk of flooding in some areas. Changes in precipitation and storm intensity affect ecosystems and infrastructure. Warmer ocean temperatures influence marine life and fishing patterns, which are central to the country's economy and food supply. These changes highlight Iceland's vulnerability to global climate shifts. Despite the challenges posed by weather, Iceland has adapted through technology and planning. Renewable energy sources such as geothermal and hydropower provide reliable heating and electricity, regardless of weather conditions. Buildings are designed to withstand strong winds and cold temperatures. Transportation systems and emergency services are prepared to respond to severe weather events, reducing risks to people and communities. Weather also contributes to some of Iceland's most striking natural phenomena.